First story. My delusional almost stepson always sulks from my daughter's playful bullying, so I ground him. And my girlfriend always blames my daughter. Now my daughter tore my girlfriend's only foster family album photos for her art craft and GF lashed out. So I told my girlfriend she should have put them somewhere safer. And she kicked me out of her house. I'm regretting my actions. So yeah, throw away because I know Reddit. I'm 37 and have been dating my girlfriend 34F for about a year and a half now. Everything was going great, like genuinely until the last couple of months when our kids started being more involved. I have a 9-year-old daughter, Zara almost 10, and she has an 11-year-old son. Zara stays with me on the weekends, and up until recently, those weekends were just me and her time. My GF and I made the call about 3 months ago to start introducing the kids to each other, and then moved to shared weekend visits a month back at her place, so that Zara would sleep over in her guest room, and both kids could be around us together. At first, it seemed okay. The kids weren't best friends, but they weren't fighting either. My daughter's spirited, she has a lot of personality, and honestly, I love that about her. She's been through some rough stuff, I'm not going into details, but let's just say her mum's not really in the picture, and it's been a whole thing. She's only 9 and already has had more life thrown at her than most adults. I tried to give her space to be herself and not squash that energy out of her. Anyway, my GF son is more of a, let's just say, old soul. He's very quiet, overly polite, and kind of rigid. My GF acts like he's the gold standard for how kids should behave, and she keeps comparing Zara to him. It's been getting on my nerves. She'll say things like, "My son would never go through people's drawers," or, "He always asks before touching things." Yeah, okay, cool. But not every kid is going to be like that. And it doesn't mean Zara's bad, she's just different. Things really started escalating when she began accusing Zara of being destructive. The first incident was over a bottle of shampoo. Zara took a shower, and afterward the bottle was empty. My girlfriend immediately called it wasteful. I told her, she has thick hair and likes long showers, what's the big deal? But she acted like Zara had dumped the whole bottle down the drain out of spite. And honestly, the shampoo had already been used before that anyway. I have no idea how much was left in it when my daughter showered. Then she found a small rip in the guest mattress and insisted Zara did it. Zara swore it was already there. I don't know, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But GF jumped straight to, "Your daughter's destroying my house." She even brought up Zara drawing on a windowsill with makeup. Again, kid stuff. It's makeup, not blood. My daughter's 9. She's learning. She doesn't always understand boundaries. But that doesn't mean she's malicious. Here's the thing, GF never brings up how her son sometimes pushes Zara's buttons too. He's a bit condescending. Like, if she messes up a word, he'll correct her right away. If she wants to play, he'll say things like, "I don't do childish games. She's 9. What do you want her to do? Taxes?" Then, when Zara gets upset or loud, GF jumps in like a referee, but only ever tells Zara to calm down. Zara started asking why that boy gets special treatment. She told me, "He gets to do whatever he wants, and when I breathe too loud, I get in trouble." And honestly, she's not wrong. It's been tense. I get that it's GF's house, and she wants order, but she doesn't bend at all. She has rules for every tiny thing: where shoes go, how towels have to be folded, which drawer is for what. My daughter has been walking on eggshells. Now, look, I'm not saying Zara is perfect. She's definitely a handful sometimes. But she's 9, for crying out loud. I think it's sweet that she's curious and creative. Like, yeah, maybe she took apart a couple pads in the bathroom to see what was inside. Isn't that kind of normal kid behavior? GF went nuclear over it like Zara set the house on fire. I think what really rubs me wrong is GF expects my daughter to act like a mini adult. Her son probably came out of the womb with a briefcase and a 401k. But Zara's imaginative and energetic. I walk in, and she's made a castle out of sofa cushions and towels, and GF says, she's wrecked the living room again. Wrecked? She's playing. The tension's been building. I've noticed GF started watching Zara like a hawk. She even brought up putting a camera in the guest room for proof next time something's damaged. She's not a criminal. She's a little girl. GF said it was just to protect her things, but it felt like a slap in the face. Still, I tried to keep things cool. I talked to Zara about being more careful and respecting things that aren't hers. But I also told GF to ease up. Some of this stuff isn't the end of the world. A ripped mattress cover can be replaced. Makeup washes off. Perspective, right? Then came this past weekend. GF had to run into her office for something on Saturday, said it'd take an hour, tops. Her son was at his dad's place. So it was just me and Zara at GF's house. We'd just eaten breakfast. I stepped outside to take a work call. Zara was inside working on one of her little art projects. About 45 minutes in, GF comes back, and I immediately hear her yelling from the kitchen. I rush in, and she's standing over the table, just frozen. Zara's sitting there, her scrapbook open in front of her, and there are a bunch of cut-up photos on the table. GF is going pale, shaking. I didn't even know what was going on at first. She turns to me and says, "We're done. You need to leave. Both of you. Right now." I'm standing there completely confused because I still don't even understand what the supposed emergency is. It's just some pictures, and my girlfriend is acting like the house is on fire. GF starts shaking and pointing at the scrapbook and these cut-up photos. She tells me that these were the only copies of pictures from her childhood. Apparently, she was in foster care and didn't get to keep much. A couple of the photos were of a friend who passed away when she was younger. I get that it's sad, I do. But she's talking like Zara set them on fire on purpose. I told her she should have put them somewhere safer, if they were that important. I wasn't trying to be rude. I was just being honest. They were in a regular drawer in the living room. Zara didn't go through a safe or anything. And GF knows Zara does crafts. She leaves glue sticks and paper scraps all over the place. It's not shocking she'd grab what looked like old pictures and make something out of them. GF didn't want to hear any of that. She just kept pointing at the door and telling me we had to get out. Zara started crying because she didn't know she did anything wrong. And instead of calming down, GF told her, "You ruined the only connection I had to people who loved me." She said that to a 9-year-old. Harsh. I stepped in and said GF needed to take a minute because she was freaking my daughter out. That made GF even angrier. She said she was so tired of me making excuses, and that she's been patient long enough, whatever that means. She brought up every tiny thing from the last few weekends like she had a list ready. Pads she claims Zara destroyed. A dent in the wall from a stomp, the shampoo, the mattress cover, the makeup on the sill, everything. All rapid fire. I told her again these are kid things. Kids push limits. Kids break stuff. Kids spill things. Her son is the exception, not the rule. She said that's the problem, that I expect her to mother a child with zero boundaries. I told her nobody asked her to mother anyone. Zara has a dad me. She only needed to be patient and stop treating everything like a crisis. GF yelled that I've been ignoring real problems because I think it's cute when Zara gets her way. That's not fair. Yeah, I let her express herself. I don't clamp down on her like GF does with every small noise. But I'm not raising a robot. And I'm not punishing her for being curious or emotional. She's been through enough instability that the last thing she needs is someone telling her she's too much every weekend. GF said Zara bullies her son. I don't buy it. Her son is older, taller, and way more serious. He's not some helpless victim. He's the one who corrects her, lectures her, and calls things immature. But if Zara gets frustrated, GF calls it bullying. If Zara doesn't want him in her space, she's rude. If Zara plays loudly, she's disruptive. GF has turned normal child energy into a character flaw. Anyway, while my girlfriend is yelling, Zara starts crying even harder. I told her she needed to stop yelling in front of my kid. She snapped back that I never stop Zara from doing anything, so she has to yell because talking doesn't work. That's when I told her, she's not doing these things to hurt you. You're acting like she's some kind of menace. That's when GF said, she is a menace in my home. Zara heard that, and she completely shut down. Just froze. Wouldn't even look up. I told GF that was out of line, but she doubled down and said she's done having her home destroyed every weekend. Again destroyed. Come on. A mattress tear, some makeup, some shampoo, and a few pictures. She's acting like we bulldozed the place. GF said she wanted us gone that second. No talking it out. No calm discussion. Just get out. And she meant it. She grabbed a trash bag and started putting Zara's things in it. I told her to stop touching my daughter's belongings, and she threw the bag across the couch and said, "Fine, take her stuff yourself and don't come back." I got Zara's things, got her shoes on, and we walked out. GF stood at the door staring at us with that tight-lipped expression she gets when she's trying not to cry. She didn't even say goodbye. Just closed the door. I texted her later, saying she overreacted, and that I think we need to talk like adults instead of blowing up our relationship over damaged pictures. She replied with, "There is nothing to talk about. I've told you for weeks. You don't parent your daughter. You enable her. I'm done." Now she's blocked me on everything except email. She emailed this morning just to say, "Do not contact me further." Look, I get she cared about those pictures. But they're pictures. They can't matter more than an entire relationship. She threw away a year and a half over something a kid did without understanding the weight of it. And she's blaming me for not immediately screaming at my daughter and dragging her out. I'm frustrated because I feel like GF expected Zara to behave like her son, who literally asks before touching a pillow. Zara isn't wired that way. And considering her past, she's made huge progress. But GF never saw that. She only saw the mistakes. She only saw problems. She kept saying she felt overwhelmed. But she never admitted she just didn't like my kid as she was. So I'm trying to figure out if I'm missing something. Did I handle this wrong? Is it really fair to expect a 9-year-old to know the difference between random pictures in a drawer and priceless memories? Is GF justified in blowing up our whole relationship over some damaged items? Or is this just her being dramatic and refusing to accept that kids don't all behave like her rule-following son? I'm honestly asking. Ada for thinking my girlfriend massively overreacted, and for not punishing my daughter the way she wanted. Comments. Comment 1. YTA. Not even a question. I've worked in child therapy for 20 years, and you're exactly the kind of parent who creates a nightmare for teachers, family, and partners. She's 9. Isn't a hall pass for destroying other people's property and bullying other kids. Zara didn't accidentally cut up those photos. She was unsupervised. She went through someone else's drawer, and she used scissors. That wasn't a random mess. It was premeditated craft time. You seem more pissed that your girlfriend reacted with emotion than you are about your kid's actions. You didn't show an ounce of remorse, not even a, "I get why that hurt you." Just deflection and the same tired, "she's been through a lot" excuse. She's not a rescue dog. She's a kid who needs firm, consistent parenting, not some vibe-based freedom plan where she can do whatever she wants because she's spirited. Your girlfriend didn't break up with you over pictures. She broke up with you because you refused to parent your kid. Comment 2. Jesus, bro. YTA. But not because your daughter's wild. I've got a 10-year-old with ADHD who once microwaved a crayon for science. I get it. Kids screw up. Where did you lose me? You clearly don't respect your girlfriend's home, time, or emotions. She told you repeatedly that things were getting out of control. You didn't listen. You minimized everything. Your daughter tears through pads, slams doors, empties shampoo bottles, and draws on the damn walls, and your reaction is basically, "Meh, she's creative." Dude, you let her treat that house like a playground. And you threw your girlfriend under the bus. Your daughter needed a reality check. One stern conversation from dad. A real moment of, "Hey, that was wrong, and this might have ended differently." Instead, you acted like GF was being hysterical. I'd bet money she doesn't even care about the photos as much as the fact that you didn't back her up. She probably feels completely alone in her own home. You think she chose her son's behavior as a weapon against yours? No, man. She was showing you what mutual respect looks like, and you spat on it. Comment 3. Hard YTA. I grew up watching my mum date men like you. She'd try to make it work, bend herself backwards, and smile through gritted teeth while their kids wrecked everything. The dads always thought it was just a phase, or she's expressive, or some BS like that. Meanwhile, my mum was constantly cleaning up messes, hiding her favorite things, and pretending like her home was still hers. You don't even get it. This wasn't about some photos. It was about how you never had her back. She told you repeatedly that your daughter was stressing her out. She gave you multiple chances to step in. And every single time, you made excuses. She's been through so much. Yeah, so has your girlfriend. You just don't care. You only see your daughter's pain, never hers. And the most telling part? You didn't comfort your girlfriend. You didn't say, "I'm sorry." You defended the kid. Automatically. Like GF was the problem. She didn't break up over a scrapbook. She broke up over your cowardice. Post from girlfriend. Since my ex posted his side. Here's mine because he left out 90% of the situation. I didn't plan to say anything, but someone sent me the post my ex made, and I couldn't ignore how far from the truth it was. It wasn't just one-sided. It was manipulated to paint himself and his daughter as innocent and me as unhinged. And if you're going to post your version of events, at least don't leave out half the story. No, I didn't snap over some old photos. I ended a relationship because for months, I was watching my home get torn apart and my son pushed to the background while his daughter did whatever she wanted with zero consequences. Let me be clear. I never hated his daughter. She's a child. But I started to fear the kind of adult she's being shaped into. The behavior I was watching wasn't spirited or curious. It was aggressive, manipulative, and consistent, and it always escalated the second her dad wasn't directly looking. She broke my son's toys twice. Claimed both times they were already broken. She ripped pages out of his sketchbook, snapped his pencils during tantrums, dumped glitter glue on his desk and bed on purpose, and cut up his drawings to use in her crafts. She'd tell him she was borrowing something, then break it and laugh when he got upset. She shoved him off the couch once because she wanted the middle cushion. Another time, she kicked the back of his chair through an entire meal while her dad was in the other room. She elbowed him in the hallway so often that he started walking the long way around her. My son isn't a perfect kid, but he's a good one. He tried so hard to get along with her. He never retaliated. He just started avoiding her, staying in his room, and going silent when she was around. He told me one night he was tired of his stuff getting ruined. He's 11. He shouldn't feel unsafe in his own home. Every time I brought up these incidents, her father shut me down. He either brushed it off, "They're just kids. She didn't mean it," or worse, he blamed my son. If Zara cried, even after doing something wrong, he'd turn on my kid like it was his fault she was upset. He disciplined my son more than he ever corrected his own daughter. One time, he grounded my son from his own Switch because Zara didn't get her turn. She didn't get her turn because she spent the morning screaming and knocking over his Legos. I want to be clear that I never expected her to be perfect. I never asked for a military order. What I asked for was basic respect for my home and my child. And what I got in return was being treated like a villain for saying, "Hey, this behavior isn't okay." As for the photos, he left out just how deliberate that was. Those albums were not lying around. She dragged a chair across the room, climbed on it, opened a cabinet above the TV, and pulled down 2 albums. Then sat at the kitchen table with scissors and a glue stick and cut them up. These weren't just photos, they were everything I had from my childhood. I was in foster care. I didn't get to keep much. These were the only physical memories I had of people who cared about me. One of the people in those photos is dead. There are no backups, no cloud storage, no digital archive. They're gone now. When I walked in and saw what she'd done, I went completely still. It was like something knocked the air out of my chest. And when I told him calmly at first, then more urgently as it set in, he didn't even come inside. He stayed on the phone. When he finally did, he looked at the mess, shrugged, and told me I should have kept them somewhere safer. That's when I knew I couldn't do this anymore. Because it wasn't just about the pictures. It was that in my worst moment, watching the last tangible parts of my childhood get torn up on my own kitchen table, he didn't care. He didn't comfort me. He didn't acknowledge it as a loss. He just defended his daughter, like always. And maybe the most painful part is this. I started seeing myself change. I was angry all the time. I was resentful and short-fused, walking around my house like it was a war zone. I hated who I was becoming. I was bracing every weekend for the next mess, the next lie, and the next passive-aggressive dig from a 9-year-old who never heard no without a reward after. I was mourning her childhood more than paying attention to my son's present. That realization gutted me. I didn't sign up to co-parent. I didn't sign up to be an emotional sponge for someone else's chaos. I never agreed to raise his daughter, especially without being allowed to set boundaries or say when something wasn't working. Every time I tried to speak up, he shut me down. Or worse, he made me feel like I was just too cold to understand kids. But I do understand kids. I've raised one. And I did it without excuses. Without blaming his trauma every time he made a mistake. Without letting him walk over people and calling it creativity. The saddest part is, she's not a bad kid. She's just being failed by the one person who should be teaching her accountability. And one day, that's going to catch up to her. But it won't be in my house, or at the expense of my son. So yeah, I ended it. And no, it wasn't about some pictures. It was about a pattern of disrespect, erasure, and emotional neglect towards me and my child. I didn't stop loving him overnight. But I stopped trusting that he had my back. And in the end, that made the choice easy. Comments. Comment 1. Holy hell, I don't know how you lasted as long as you did. Your ex wasn't raising a kid, he was raising a wrecking ball with glitter and scissors. You could tell from his original post, he thought everything was just cute chaos. And honestly, that was more chilling than any of the stuff his daughter did. The way he minimized the photos, your actual life story, like they were some scrap paper she accidentally grabbed. I'd have thrown his arse out right then and there. But what got me the most was the part about your son. You didn't just leave for your own sanity, you left because that man was teaching your kid that his peace and safety didn't matter. And you're dead right. That's emotional neglect by proxy. You're not co-parenting when one parent lets his child abuse the other and calls it playtime. Also, don't let people tell you, it's not her fault, she's just a kid. Kids know. And if they don't, it's their parents' job to teach them. He didn't. That's on him. You're better off far, far away. Comment 2. God, this read like a hostage release statement. You were living in survival mode every weekend. Honestly, this isn't just about bad parenting, it's about emotional weaponization. Your ex used his daughter's trauma as a shield against accountability. Every time she hurt someone, broke something, or invaded a boundary, he held up the "but she's been through a lot" card like it canceled everything. That's manipulative as hell. You didn't get to have your own experiences. Your grief didn't matter. Your boundaries were cold, your rules were too strict, and your kid was too perfect. He kept moving the goalposts until you were apologizing for being upset about having your one-of-a-kind memories destroyed. I hope you and your son are in a better place now. And I hope that man wakes the hell up before his daughter ends up with no friends, no self-awareness, and no one left who'll put up with the mess. Comment 3. I'm a single dad with full custody of an 8-year-old, and even I'm saying you were completely right to walk away. People don't get how easy it is to slip into defense mode as a parent when you're solo, especially with a kid who's been through stuff. But that's when you have to be more intentional, not less. Your ex did the opposite. He weaponized his daughter's feelings, dumped the emotional fallout on you, and ignored the collateral damage, namely, your kid. Reading how she treated your son made my stomach turn. That wasn't normal sibling tension. That was physical intimidation, property damage, and emotional abuse. Full stop. And let's be honest, she learned that behavior. She's mimicking power dynamics. She saw her dad prioritize her every time, so she kept escalating. Why wouldn't she? In that house, tantrums worked. Lies worked. Tears worked. Glad you pulled the plug. He's not raising a child. He's cultivating entitlement with glitter and silence. Update from boyfriend. People online tracked down my ex's post, screenshotted it, sent it to me, and apparently decided they know me, my daughter, my parenting, and the entire situation better than I do. Let me start with this. I'm not going to sit here and let the internet tear apart a 9-year-old who has no way to defend herself. She's a kid. She's been through a lot. And every grown adult acting like she's some master manipulator needs a reality check. She's not calculating anything, she reacts like a child, because she is a child. People keep calling her destructive. Look, yes, she breaks things sometimes. She makes messes. She gets too rough when she's excited or upset. She touches things without asking. She gets into stuff she shouldn't. I'm not denying she needs more guidance. But everything she ever destroyed was fixable or replaceable. A mattress cover, wall paint, shampoo, a toy, makeup. These are things you can buy again. A relationship isn't replaceable. A family isn't replaceable. And everyone lighting torches is acting like the photos were some priceless national treasure. They were meaningful to my ex, I get that. I'm not heartless, I told her that. But they were still physical objects. I didn't understand why losing them meant losing me too. Didn't think it meant losing everything. About her saying my daughter bullied her son, here's the truth. Her son is a good kid, but he's incredibly sensitive. He cries if someone breathes too close to his drawings. He's always been softer. He acts older than he is, almost like he's terrified of making a wrong move. That's how she raised him, everything perfect, everything controlled. So yeah, maybe he and my daughter never clicked. They were two opposite personalities. That doesn't mean she bullied him. They annoyed each other. They got on each other's nerves, like most kids do. And I want to make this clear. I never expected her to parent my daughter the way she keeps telling everyone. I didn't drop my kid in her lap and walk away. I was always around. I was always the disciplinarian. But my ex didn't want discipline, she wanted control. There's a difference. She had rules taped on the fridge, chore charts, quiet hours, closed doors, and labeled drawers, and she expected a hyperactive 9-year-old who barely knew her to follow every little thing perfectly. Reddit keeps saying I never parented. That's just flat out wrong. I corrected my daughter constantly. I explained things, redirected her, and tried to teach her boundaries. But my ex would jump in before I even finished a sentence. She wanted her house run exactly her way, and any deviation was seen as disrespect. Her saying my daughter cut up the photos on purpose to hurt her? No, absolutely not. She didn't even know what she had grabbed. She saw pictures and thought they were craft supplies. She didn't understand the emotional weight behind them. She didn't know they were irreplaceable. And when my ex came in screaming, my daughter froze because she had no clue what she did wrong. I know Reddit loves drama, but kids don't think in adult motivations. Adults do. And that's the difference everyone keeps ignoring. What really bothers me is the way my ex took our private issues and made them internet content. She posted every single detail of my daughter's most embarrassing moments to thousands of strangers. She didn't care how it made my kid look. She made my daughter sound like a feral animal. And now my daughter is being called a monster, a future abuser, and a manipulator in training. She's 9. How is that fair? And now, because she blocked me everywhere, phone, text, social media, even email, she won't hear any explanation from me. She won't talk. She won't let me apologize in person. She's pushing this "we're done forever" narrative so hard that it's starting to feel like she wants the internet to validate her decision, not work on understanding what actually happened. Meanwhile, I'm dealing with the fallout at home. My daughter keeps asking where her big brother is, because that's what she started calling her son after a few weeks. She keeps asking when we're going back to their house. She keeps asking what she did wrong. I can't tell her the truth that the woman she saw as a stepmom candidate now thinks she's manipulative, destructive, and dangerous. That she's being labeled things no child should ever hear about themselves. I don't know how to explain to a 9-year-old that someone she cared about now wants nothing to do with her. So I've been making excuses, because what am I supposed to do? Tell her that her almost stepmom cut us off? I also want to say this. I still love my ex. I still care about her son. I still want another chance. I want to talk. We built a 1.5 years together. We talked about combining households eventually. We talked about the future. I don't want internet drama to be the thing that ends us. I'm asking her, if she sees this, to stop blocking every line of communication and just talk to me privately. No more posts. No more comment wars. No more strangers responding like they know what happens behind closed doors. Just a conversation. That's it. We don't have to get back together if she doesn't want to. But we owe it to the kids to at least talk about what happened without millions of eyes pushing their own interpretations into it. I'm tired. I'm confused. I'm running out of ways to protect my daughter's feelings without lying. And the last thing I want is for her to grow up thinking someone she cared about hated her. So yeah, maybe Reddit wants me to take accountability. Fine. But I'm not going to let people tear my daughter apart to make that point. I love her. I'll always protect her. And I'll always fight for the relationships that matter to us both. If my ex reads this, please unblock me. Please talk to me. We don't need more internet strangers in the middle of this. Comments. Comment 1. You seriously don't get how weird it sounds to say everything she destroyed was replaceable. Dude, they weren't your things. That alone makes them not yours to devalue. You acted like your ex should just chalk it all up to Kid SHT. But it wasn't your bed, your makeup, or your foster care photos. Of course you don't get the weight. Your daughter didn't act like a criminal, no. But she didn't act like someone who knows limits either. That's on you. You didn't raise her to understand consequences. And now that someone enforced a boundary, you're treating it like a betrayal. And calling her son soft because he doesn't want his stuff destroyed. That's so dismissive. He's 11. He draws. He wants peace. Maybe your daughter didn't bully him on purpose, but she sure wasn't being kind. He was reacting to chaos. And your takeaway is that he's just too sensitive. That tells me everything. Comment 2. The entire tone of this is, please unblock me so I can finally explain why I'm right. You weaponized your daughter's innocence to protect your ego. You couldn't face what she did, so you spun it into curiosity and blamed your ex's boundaries. Then when your ex said enough, you made her out to be dramatic and heartless for drawing a line. Your daughter may not be a bully yet, but she's clearly learning that boundaries don't apply to her if she's emotional enough. You've got one shot to correct that. Stop making her out to be a misunderstood fairy, and start teaching her how to exist in shared space without wrecking it. And if you love your ex and her son, let them go with dignity. Stop begging her to clean up the emotional mess you wouldn't touch when it mattered. Update. It's been a long time since everything exploded between me and my ex. I tried reaching out for months after she blocked me, then finally accepted she wasn't going to respond. You can't force a conversation with someone who's made it clear they don't want you in their life. Eventually, I understood there was no version of reality where she'd unblock me, no version where she'd let me explain myself, and definitely no version where she'd forgive me. I didn't stop caring about her, but I stopped trying to chase a ghost. I focused on raising my daughter. Or at least, I thought I did. Life moved on. School, work, routines. After a while, I started dating again. I met someone new, let's call her M. She was sweet, fun, and patient, had a good sense of humor, and didn't judge me for being a single dad. She even said she admired how much I loved my daughter. For the first couple of months, everything felt easy. We kept things light, no expectations, just two adults trying to enjoy a connection without dragging old wounds into it. But eventually, M wanted to meet my daughter. I hesitated at first because of how badly things had gone before, but I didn't want to keep hiding parts of my life. So we planned small get-togethers, park trips, movie nights, nothing intense. At first, it seemed fine. My daughter was shy around her, which was new. M brought little craft kits and snacks, tried to include her in conversations, and even helped her with homework once. Then the cracks showed. It didn't happen all at once. It was small things at first: M's makeup bag disappearing into my daughter's room, papers being scribbled on, her phone charger snapped. I recognized the signs immediately but tried to stay optimistic. I kept telling myself she'd grown past that phase. I corrected her, sat her down, and explained boundaries. She nodded, apologized, and then did something similar the next week. M didn't explode right away. She tried to stay calm and tried to be understanding. She'd say things like, "Maybe she's nervous," or "She just needs time." She really did try. But the irritation grew. A few times she snapped, not screaming, but firm and sharp, and told my daughter to stop touching her things, to stop climbing into her purse, and to stop using her room like a scavenger hunt. My daughter cried both times, and I reacted the same way I used to. I got defensive. I told him she needed compassion. I told her my daughter had been through a lot. I told her she just needed patience. M didn't argue back at first, but the silence afterwards was loud. 6 months into dating, the breaking point came. We were at my apartment. My daughter had been in her room coloring. M left her laptop bag on the couch while she went to the bathroom. When she came back, my daughter had taken her work notebook, ripped a few pages out, and cut them into shapes to make a collage. These weren't doodles. These were handwritten meeting notes, schedules, phone numbers, stuff she needed for the next day. M froze the same way my ex did years ago. She told my daughter, calm but unfiltered, "You need to stop touching people's things. This is not okay." My daughter burst into tears. And that's when I made the same mistake. I stepped between them. I told him she could have handled it differently, that she didn't need to make her feel bad. M just stared at me for a long time, like she finally understood something she should have seen months ago. She packed her bag, told me she cared about me, but couldn't live on edge around my kid, and left. She didn't block me instantly, but she slowed communication, then straight up ended things a week later. She said I wasn't a bad guy, but she couldn't sign up for a lifetime of battles over basic boundaries. She said she needed a partner who would meet her halfway, not someone who lent on sympathy instead of structure. She didn't blame my daughter. She blamed me. That hit harder than I expected. For the first time, I didn't try to chase her. I didn't beg, didn't send long texts, and didn't make promises I wasn't ready to keep. I let her go because I finally understood I couldn't keep asking women to carry a burden I refused to lift. And honestly, I couldn't keep avoiding the truth. My daughter was struggling. I never gave her the tools to cope with her impulses, her anxiety, or her need for control. I thought love and softness were enough, that I could overcorrect the chaos her mother put her through. I was wrong. I was raising her reactionally instead of intentionally. I protected her from consequences instead of teaching her how to handle them. When I'm left, my daughter didn't lash out. She didn't get angry. She got quiet. 2 nights after the breakup, she asked if M hated her. I told her no. But then she asked, "Did ex-girlfriend's son hate me too?" I didn't know she remembered him that clearly. She's older now, almost a teenager, but she still thinks about that time. And then she asked about my ex. Is she still mad at us? Is she still sad about the pictures? I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to lie. But I couldn't give her the truth, either that my ex didn't just walk away from me. She walked away because she felt unsafe in her own home and unsafe for her son. That's not something you dump on a kid. So I finally did the thing I should have done years earlier. I got my daughter into therapy. I started setting boundaries. I stopped rescuing her from everything. I stopped assuming she'd grow out of it. I stopped pretending every meltdown was trauma instead of behavior that needed guidance. She had a hard time adjusting. She tested limits. She cried. She claimed she was scared I'd stop loving her. But slowly she started changing, not perfectly, but noticeably. She learned to ask before taking something. She learned to apologize without bargaining. She learned to respect people's space. She learned that love doesn't mean you get to do anything you want. And I learned I wasn't cut out for the kind of relationship I wanted to have, not until I became the kind of parent I needed to be. I'm not writing this for redemption, just clarity. I stopped chasing someone who didn't want me. I stopped expecting partners to absorb the impact of my avoidance. And I finally started showing up for my daughter the way she actually needed, not the way that made me feel like the good guy. It shouldn't have taken losing 2 women to learn that. But it did. Comments. Comment 1. Alright, I'll say it. You finally grew the hell up. But you torched 2 relationships to get there. And I don't say that to drag you, I say that because the price of avoiding accountability is always paid by the people closest to us. I don't think your daughter was malicious. But you taught her that feelings matter more than boundaries. You taught her apologies weren't necessary if there were tears. That's not love, it's dysfunction in a gift bag. Glad you finally broke the cycle. Just don't pat yourself on the back too hard. You left a trail behind you. Be the kind of man your daughter can rely on now, not the one who always had her back, but the one who finally showed her where the line is. Comment 2. I'm not applauding you for doing the bare minimum after wrecking 2 women's peace. You don't get a redemption arc just because you finally Googled therapy for kids after burning every bridge you walked across. You didn't protect your daughter. You used her as a shield. Every time someone told you she crossed a line, you shoved her trauma in their face instead of showing her how to make it right. You want to be the good guy so bad, but everything in this post is still about you. Your regrets, your pain, your wake-up call. Meanwhile, your ex lost the only photos of her childhood. Her son is probably still recovering from your daughter's abuse. M is out hundreds of dollars in ruined stuff. And your daughter now carries the guilt of people disappearing from her life. Don't tell us you've changed. Show it to your kid consistently for the next 10 years. Until then, you're still just the guy who let a 9-year-old learn how to burn down relationships. Second story. My male coworker is secretly leaving tampons in the women's restroom. He seems to be a good guy. But is he? So, this wasn't what I was expecting to see yesterday. I work in an office in the northern United States. Most of the people who work there are other young women, just a coincidence. The ratio is around 3:1. The past few months, someone has been leaving an assorted box of Tampax pearls on the counter. Whenever it started running low, another one would pop right up. We originally thought it was another woman in the office, but no one came forward, so we just assumed someone didn't want to admit it. But today, I needed to prepare the office for a round of interviews HR was conducting, and I got there very early in the morning. That's when I caught my male coworker around our same age, leaving the women's restroom, which is when it all clicked together. He didn't notice I caught him since his back was turned to me. While walking out, he gets there way before anyone else does, and probably wasn't expecting anyone else to be there that early. I went to his desk later and spoke to him about it since the two of us talk a lot. I brought it up and let him know I saw him walking out of the women's restroom this morning, and he seemed very embarrassed that someone found out. He said the reason he did it was because he noticed the office was largely filled with women and felt bad that everything in the restroom was free, except for the tampons, so he wanted to do something thoughtful. He never intended on other people finding out. I told him I was just as surprised as him, and that I personally thought it was sweet. But how would the rest of you react to this? Comments. Comment 1. I'd keep his secret. He doesn't want recognition. He just wants to make the workplace better for the people he shares it with. I can't think of anything concerning about this at all. Comment 2. I don't know what there is to be concerned about. Your coworker seems particularly thoughtful of others. Do you think he's tampering with them or something? If they're in sealed packages, I can't see how that would happen. And he's obviously not doing it for some kind of clout since he was placing them in secret. He seems like a nice person. I saw a comment the other day about things like this being micro-reparations as opposed to microaggressions. I'll take that any day. Comments by OP. After people said they are relieved it wasn't used tampons, because we all are too much on Reddit sorry if the title sounded like bait lol. It's what happened. I didn't mean for it to sound concerning. I admit I was overreacting. I think I was just more surprised than anything and taken off guard. In hindsight, I'm glad we have guys who are willing to step up and do things like this. I'm not going to tell anyone strictly on the fact our place has dispensers for tampons you need to pay for. And the last thing I want is for him to get in an HR conflict with having to pay for them or something like that. I shouldn't be concerned either. I mean, he literally gets there at like 6 am. The first woman gets into the office at 7:30 usually. Update. Thank you to everyone who commented and helped ease my concerns. I admit I was overreacting a bit. I think I was just surprised and taken off guard that morning when I saw him. This week, I actually went into the office early again just to speak to him in person without anyone else overhearing. I told him that I thought his gesture was sweet and wanted to know if he wanted to grab coffee after work as a way to thank him. He accepted. First, he thanked me for not telling our coworkers he doesn't mind if I tell people outside of work, as long as I leave his name and personal info out. He told me that he didn't want to make a big deal about the gesture because he was used to being in similar situations working around women. He used to work as a lifeguard at an indoor park when he was in high school college, but at that job it was mostly other men. He told me that the number one task that the other guys hated was being assigned to clean the women's restroom when it was time to close. That's because the guy lifeguards could only clean it once it was fully cleared. So whoever was assigned to it would always be the last lifeguard to clock out. But he'd just volunteer to do it since there was no way to avoid it. He told me that he got to know a lot of the regular women there, as well as the high school swim coaches and students on the ladies' swim team, and they were completely comfortable around him. They'd let him in even when they were still using the bathroom, as long as they weren't actively changing or butt naked. He thanked me for listening and said he was glad I didn't find it creepy. He also opened up and said the main reason he started bringing tampons aside from the office, mainly being filled with women, is because he grew up the eldest son with 3 brothers and no sister. And he always wanted a baby sister to look after, but never got one. So he's really hoping for a daughter one day. I told him I thought that was so sweet, because most men only want a son as a preference. So I wasn't expecting any guy to say that. I offered to pay for the coffee like promised, and we ended the evening after talking a bit more about home life. We're hoping to make it a weekly thing now after work. Thanks all for your reassurance. Hopefully it's a little wholesome story that'll brighten your week as well. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.